Well, here we are in Barboursville, Virginia, surrounded by beautiful vineyards and forests, and also the family-owned business, the Orchid Station. I'm here with Mark Fillauer. Thanks for having us, Mark.
Yeah, most certainly, Patrick.
So how did you all get started in this business?
My dad grew up in southern Florida and would collect orchids from the Everglades with his best friend, and they would establish them in their backyard and really developed a hobby of growing orchids.
Oh, nice. Okay. And how did that lead to a nursery in Virginia?
A jealousy of his best friend starting a Vanda operation in Homestead, and Dad decided to start a wholesale orchid Phalaenopsis operation here in Virginia.
Very good, very good. So Phalaenopsis is one of the most commonly seen orchids for sale, and there must be some reason behind it that you also chose it. So why Phalaenopsis?
Mainly the longevity of bloom. They have one of the longest lasting blooms in the orchid world.
And are they relatively easy to take care of?
Yeah. I recommend benign neglect. That's easiest care. Once a week watering, indirect light, and then basically you go from there.
Very good. Well, let's get into some more detail about that, because despite everybody loving orchids, many people say, I can't get mine to stay alive, I can't get it to rebloom. So what's the watering and feeding schedule that's ideal for Phalaenopsis orchids?
Let me start with this. As a lot of people think when the blooms are done, the orchid is dead. And that's not the case. If you have green foliage, you have a live and healthy plant.
Yes.
So when you're done with your bloom, you cut the bloom spike back all the way to the base of the plant, right about here.
Okay.
At that point, you start giving it a fertilization. About once a week, water, and then about every other time you water, you'll do a dilute solution of a balanced fertilizer, where your numbers are about 20-20-20.
Okay.
And with the dilute solution, you're going to fertilize your plant. You're going to give it, during its dormant period, energy to produce a new bloom spike.
And what about the potting or repotting? Because sometimes the roots really expand past their borders.
Yeah, and that is a natural process. The orchid would be in its natural state, hanging from the crook of a tree.
Right.
So those are just its air roots trying to find a purchase on a rock or a tree. And those can be tucked in when you repot, and it is a good practice to repot about once a year.
Okay, very good. Those roots need some time, some space to expand and to be able to breathe, right? So we're mimicking the natural ecology of them being an epiphyte on a tree branch. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the potting medium when you do repot it? Does the particular medium or the nutrient quality affect the orchid?
Most certainly, yeah. Most of it depicts your watering schedule. So we grow in a sphagnum moss, which retains a little more moisture and allows you to go a little longer in between watering. Some other growers grow in fir bark, a charcoal medium, but those don't hold as much moisture and you need to water more frequently.
So I see so many orchids in bloom at the blooming stage. How are they when you got them, and where did they come from?
Most of these are stem cell mericlones. They are Phalaenopsis can be seed propagated, as well as from makiki, which is rooting off of the stem itself.
Okay. And it looks like you have an example of a younger one over here. So this one is, over there. So
right here.
it hasn't bloomed yet.
Yeah, so this is...
How old is that orchid?
This is about 2.5 years old. It lived a year in a flask, and then about a year and a half to this point. And from the initiation of its bloom spike to the set of its first flowers, about a 90-day process.
90-day. So being from a tropical environment, really pretty quick growing, faster than they seem to grow when they're in your own home care. So that's pretty cool. So if you were to start it from seed, what would that process be like?
So you would expose the seed into a charcoal potassium rich, basically petri dish, which would be a flask, and you would expose those seeds, which are part per million, as fine as talcum powder. And at that point, though, they would live for about a year in that flask under grow light, and we would have a survival of the fittest inside the flask, and you'd have about 100 plants, and from that point you would pluck the plants out and put them into a plug tray, and they'd live for about another 6 to 8 months in a plug tray, and then you'd up pot again. And during this period, you want to make sure that your temperatures are warm. 70 degrees is ideal. Never let it drop to 60. 60 is kind of that critical spiking point.
Gotcha. And so is that what you want to get your orchid to rebloom?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And as a home grower, you can put your plant outside, put it in a garage, in a screened porch. You never want to let it be exposed to direct sunlight. Can damage your foliage. But difference in daytime and nighttime temperatures is really what it is, which will then initiate your bloom spike.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of the times people think their orchid's dead, it hasn't bloomed. They haven't let it be exposed to those cooler nights. It may be in a climate-controlled area, 70-degree, super happy foliage plant inside the house.
Right. What about the pollination of the orchid? Obviously, they're such a showy flower because they have some particular pollination methods and rely on those pollinators. So how would you pollinate it in a nursery?
So you could use a toothpick and pull the pollen cap off, and then just insert it into the flower of a neighboring flower, or even itself.
And so any of the varieties will cross-pollinate?
Within the Phalaenopsis varieties, yes.
Phalaenopsis,
Yeah.
very good. Well, can you tell us about some of the varieties we have here?
Yeah, so this is the Sogo Euclidean V3. This is the main white Phalaenopsis that you'll see. This is another variety called Happy Dancer. This is Golden Apple and Green Apple.
So I noticed a lot of them have a really nice kind of dual tone to them, and when you see them in the light here, their petals and their sepals are sparkling, and they have some very intricate little designs in that lower petal that catches the insect. So they're definitely doing their job of attracting the eye.
Well, and that's the main goal, is to attract the insect. And they're called moth orchids, the Phalaenopsis, and a moth would be its typical natural pollinator.
Okay. Well, what are some of the sort of fallacies and myths you've come across as far as how to take care of orchids that are not true?
You never want to add ice. So that's one of the main questions I get at orchid shows. Do I put ice on my orchid? No, you don't put ice on your orchid. It's a tropical plant. It needs to be watered thoroughly and then dry out thoroughly in between its waterings. And a lot of people don't give it enough water, feeling that you're going to overwater. And also making sure that your plant has drainage.
Yes.
You never want it to sit in water. It'll have wet feet and never be able to dry out.
Right. So very much like taking care of a succulent.
Yeah.
I've never heard it described that way.
Similar. Yeah. A lot of people compare it to African violet growing as well, the Phalaenopsis.
Okay.
Similar light fertilization.
Okay. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time, and it's just incredible being here. It feels like a tropical paradise. I'm ready to set up a hammock. Thanks.
Thank you.